the deep-sea creatures that are rewriting everything we know about intelligence. What if I told you there's a world on our own planet we know less about than the surface of the moon? A realm where giants roam, cities are built by tiny animals, and intelligence takes forms we can barely comprehend. The ocean covers over 70% of our planet's surface, but in terms of livable volume, it makes up more than 99% of the living space on Earth. Yet, to this day, a stunning percentage of that realm remains completely unexplored. In fact, after decades of exploration, less than 26% of the seafloor has been mapped in high resolution. This isn't science fiction. It's the deep ocean, and its mysteries are just beginning to surface. Our planet's oceans are a realm of shimmering beauty and brutal wilderness, a world that covers over 2/3 of the Earth's surface. With an average depth of nearly 4,000 meters or 12,100 feet, the majority of this kingdom exists in perpetual darkness, under a silent, crushing pressure. For centuries, we have sailed its surface, charting the winds and the currents. The first forays began thousands of years ago as coastal cultures dove for food and resources. By 4000 BC, early sailing ships were developed, and later, explorers pushed the boundaries of the known world. But only now, with modern technology, are we beginning to part the veil and glimpse the staggering complexity of the worlds hidden in its depths. These are stories of survival, intelligence, and power, written in the dark waters that cradle our world. Our first story begins with a flash of impossible color and a mind that defies all our expectations. In the kaleidoscopic world of the coral reef, life is a constant, high-stakes dance of predator and prey. Amidst the frantic energy of damsel fish and the slow patrol of a passing parrotfish, a flicker of movement signals the awakening of a master of deception. An octopus unfurls its arms, its body momentarily a vibrant, pulsing star against the reef before it vanishes, melting into the texture of the coral itself. It is a hunter, a ghost, and a solitary genius. Its very existence, having evolved from a simple molluscan ancestor millions of years ago, is a testament to the ocean's boundless creativity. But how does a creature with no bones and a brilliant mind become a living illusion? The answer is a biological masterpiece, an evolutionary marvel of skin and mind working in perfect concert. To survive in the ocean is to understand a fundamental truth. Nothing is what it seems. The octopus is the living embodiment of this philosophy. It is an entity of pure muscle and mind, without a single bone in its body, allowing it to pour itself through the tiniest cracks and disappear in plain sight. This bonelessness is thanks to a hydrostatic skeleton, a system where the muscles themselves provide structural support through pressure, granting it structure without rigidity. It doesn't just hide, it becomes its surroundings a thinking, breathing illusion. The secret to this vanishing act lies not in magic, but in a living canvas of skin that can paint itself into reality in milliseconds, a skill honed by the desperate need to survive in a competitive world without the protection of a shell. This uncanny ability comes from its skin, a complex tapestry of specialized cells working in 3 distinct layers. The deepest layer contains leucophores, which act like a base coat, mirroring the ambient light and colors of the environment to make the animal less conspicuous. Above that, iridophores act like living prisms containing stacks of reflecting plates that create shimmering iridescent greens, blues, and golds. The final, outermost layer is a dense network of thousands of pigment-filled sacs called chromatophores. Tiny muscles, directly controlled by the octopus's brain, expand or contract these sacs, filled with red, brown, and yellow pigments in an instant. This allows for lightning-fast changes that can form complex patterns for communication or concealment. But it doesn't stop there. The octopus also controls thousands of tiny muscular bumps on its skin called papillae, allowing it to perfectly replicate the rough texture of a rock or the bumpy surface of algae in a fraction of a second. This is not just camouflage, it is a language written on the skin, a silent, deadly form of communication and concealment. From this state of perfect invisibility, the octopus launches its attack. It is an explosion of silent, calculated motion. An arm, guided by its own cluster of neurons, shoots out to ensnare unsuspecting prey. Studies have shown that octopuses often prefer to use a specific arm relative to the eye that spots the prey, suggesting a surprising level of deliberate coordination. The capture is swift and precise. While not all are lethal to humans, all octopuses are venomous. Using a hard, parrot-like beak hidden at the base of its arms, the octopus can pierce the shell of a crab. It may first secrete an acid to soften the shell before drilling a hole and injecting a paralyzing nerve toxin, subduing its victim in seconds. In a world of deception, the most successful hunter is the one that is never seen, proving that dominance isn't always about size, but about outthinking and outmaneuvering your opponent. But is this fleeting, brilliant intelligence the only path to survival, or does the ocean favor another, much older strategy? In stark contrast to the brilliant, brief life of the octopus, we find the green sea turtle, a symbol of endurance and longevity. While the octopus is a master of rapid adaptation, the turtle is a bastion of ancient perseverance. Its ancestors swam alongside dinosaurs, and today they are living relics. With a heart-shaped shell and a life that can span over 70 years, some individuals are known to live for 90 years or more. They are famous for their epic migrations, swimming thousands of kilometers between their feeding grounds and the specific beaches where they were born to lay their own eggs. This incredible journey is guided by an internal compass, an astounding ability to sense the Earth's magnetic field, navigating the vast, featureless expanse of the open ocean with pinpoint accuracy. Two creatures, two wildly different strategies for life, and they are just the beginning of the ocean's profound mysteries. These are the mysteries of the ocean, a world of stark contrasts and stunning adaptations. From the ephemeral genius of the octopus to the enduring legacy of the sea turtle, every creature plays a part in a story far grander than our own. As we journey deeper, we uncover not just the secrets of their survival, but a reflection of our planet's health and our own responsibility to protect it. The mysteries are deep, and the future of these kingdoms rests in our hands. The story of the ancient sea turtle is inseparable from an underwater world that holds a surprising power against one of the greatest threats to our planet. The green sea turtle's world is intertwined with one of the planet's most vital and overlooked ecosystems, the vast underwater prairies of seagrass. These meadows, found in shallow coastal waters from the tropics to the Arctic Circle, are unsung heroes in the fight against climate change. They act as immense natural filters, trapping sediment, cleaning the water, and protecting shorelines from erosion by absorbing the force of waves. They provide critical shelter and nursery grounds for countless species. A single 10,000 square meter area of seagrass can support as many as 80,000 fish and 1 million invertebrates. These ecosystems form the foundation of a healthy coastal environment, and their power to combat climate change is truly astonishing. Before exploring the coastal guardians, we must acknowledge the true foundation of ocean life: phytoplankton. These microscopic single-celled organisms drift in the sunlit upper layers of the ocean, forming a vast, invisible forest. Through photosynthesis, They produce an estimated half of the oxygen in our atmosphere, meaning the ocean is responsible for at least every second breath we take. These tiny powerhouses are the base of the entire marine food web, converting sunlight into energy that sustains everything from the smallest krill to the largest whales. Their health is directly linked to the health of the entire planet. The power of coastal and microscopic marine plant life is astonishing. Despite covering less than 0.2% of the seafloor, seagrass meadows are responsible for capturing over 10% of the carbon absorbed by the ocean each year. In fact, these ecosystems can capture and store blue carbon, the carbon stored in marine ecosystems, up to 35 times faster than tropical rainforests. Unlike forests on land, which store carbon in biomass that can be released by fire, seagrass meadows sequester carbon in the oxygen-deprived sediment of the seabed. This underwater soil traps the carbon, locking it away for centuries, even millennia, if left undisturbed. But this superpower depends on a delicate balance maintained by a surprising and tireless gardener. The green sea turtle is the faithful gardener of these underwater prairies. As an adult, it is one of the only large herbivores in the ocean, and its diet consists almost exclusively of seagrass and algae. By constantly grazing, the turtles trim the meadows, keeping them healthy and encouraging new growth, much like mowing a lawn. This vital process prevents older blades from becoming overgrown, which can block sunlight, foster disease, and suffocate the grass. This constant trimming stimulates leaf growth and turnover, ensuring the entire ecosystem thrives, providing food and shelter for hundreds of other species that depend on it. And where these underwater prairies end, another critical ecosystem forms a living barrier between land and sea. Moving from the submerged prairies to the coastline, we find another critical blue carbon habitat, the mangrove forests. These remarkable trees thrive in the saline, oxygen-poor soil of the intertidal zone, forming a dense, living barrier between land and sea. Their tangled, stilt-like root systems are masters of coastal defense, anchoring the shoreline, absorbing the destructive energy of waves, and acting as a natural shield against storm surges and erosion. This living seawall is so effective it can reduce the height of storm waves by more than 60%. But it's what lies beneath the surface that turns these forests into a sanctuary for the ocean's next generation. Below the water's surface, the gnarled roots of the mangroves create an intricate labyrinth. This underwater maze is not a trap, but a sanctuary, a vital nursery for thousands of species of fish, crabs, and other crustaceans. The complex root structure provides perfect hiding places from the larger predators of the open ocean. As mangrove leaves fall and decay, they fuel a nutrient-rich food web, providing critical sustenance for the young. Here, in these protected waters, juvenile snapper, grouper, and shrimp can grow in relative safety. The health of countless offshore fisheries, and the communities that depend on them, is directly tied to the survival of these coastal nurseries. And where there are nurseries teeming with life, there are also schools for the hunters who will one day rule the open water. This abundance of life makes the mangrove labyrinth the perfect training ground. Here, young sea lions take their first lessons in hunting. In the shallow, complex waterways, they learn from their mothers and other adults how to navigate, stalk, and capture their first prey. These coastal classrooms provide a safe, yet challenging environment where they can hone the skills passed down through generations, ambushing small fish in the murky water and cornering crabs against the dense network of roots. This education is crucial, preparing them for the greater hunt in the open sea. After graduating from these sheltered academies, many will journey to the ocean's great metropolises. the most diverse and competitive ecosystems on Earth. From the coastal nurseries, we journey out to the ocean's great metropolises, the coral reefs. Though they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, these vibrant, complex structures are home to an astonishing 25% of all marine life. They are the most biodiverse ecosystems in the sea, bustling underwater cities teeming with life, color, and relentless competition. Their complexity and species richness rival that of terrestrial rainforests, making them a crucial hub for global marine health. But what force of nature could build such sprawling, living cities in the middle of the ocean? The answer lies with some of the planet's tiniest, most persistent architects. These sprawling cities are built not by one grand designer, but by the collective effort of tiny creatures. Billions upon billions of minuscule animals called coral polyps work over millennia to construct these colossal structures. Each polyp, a soft-bodied creature no bigger than a grain of rice, secretes a cup-like skeleton of calcium carbonate. Generation after generation builds upon the skeletons of the last, growing, fusing, and branching out. Some massive boulder corals grow only a few millimeters a year, meaning a large structure may be centuries old, a living monument to the collective power of the smallest builders on Earth, creating a world that supports some of the largest. Life in these crowded cities depends on intricate cooperation. Here, small fish, known as cleaner wrasses, run cleaning stations. In a stunning display of interspecies trust, large predators that would normally devour them, like groupers, moray eels, and even sharks, will instead patiently queue up. They open their mouths and flare their gills, allowing the wrasses to swim inside and meticulously pick away parasites and dead skin. It is a vital symbiotic service, a truce between hunter and hunted that ensures the health of the entire community. In fact, experiments where cleaner wrasses have been removed from a reef have shown a sharp increase in disease and a dramatic decline in the overall fish population. In the heart of the Pacific, French Polynesia has become a global model for ocean protection. In 2006, it created what was then the world's largest shark sanctuary, a vast expanse of nearly 2 million square miles. Recognizing the vital role sharks play as top predators in maintaining healthy reef ecosystems, the nation banned all shark fishing, turning its waters into a haven where these magnificent creatures can thrive. This sanctuary allows us a precious window into what a healthy, balanced reef ecosystem truly looks like when its apex predators are allowed to fulfill their natural role. Inside this protected zone, we get to witness the secret lives of these powerful predators. Inside the sanctuary, we can witness the fascinating natural behavior of the reef's apex predators. By day, in the deep channels of atolls like Fakarava, gray reef sharks can be seen hanging almost motionless in the currents, often in large groups. They are not sleeping, but cleverly conserving energy. For many shark species, constant swimming is required to force oxygen-rich water over their gills to breathe. Here, these sharks use the moving water to their advantage, allowing the current to do the work for them. It's a moment of calm, a social gathering of hunters at rest before the structured chaos of the night's activity begins. As darkness falls, the reef transforms and the hunt begins. Here, in the channels of Fakarava, researchers have witnessed an incredible spectacle. Gray reef sharks and white-tip reef sharks hunting cooperatively. The white-tips, with their slender, agile bodies, are perfectly adapted to probe the tight crevices of the coral, flushing out, sleeping and hiding fish. This frantic escape drives the prey out into open water, where the faster, more powerful gray reef sharks are waiting in ambush. It is a sophisticated, coordinated strategy, a stunning glimpse into the complex social dynamics and startling intelligence of these ancient predators. But this ancient dance now faces a new and invisible threat. These ancient, balanced ecosystems are now facing a threat of unprecedented scale and speed. A seemingly small rise in global ocean temperatures, even just 1 degree Celsius above the long-term average, can trigger catastrophic marine heat waves. These prolonged periods of abnormally warm water push corals past their breaking point, disrupting the delicate balance that has existed for millions of years. They threaten to unravel the very fabric of reef life, silencing the symphony of the underwater city. So, what does a heat wave actually do to a coral reef? The answer lies in a microscopic partnership that gives the reef its very life and color. When water temperatures become too high for too long, corals undergo a process known as bleaching. The vibrant colors of a coral come not from the animal itself, but from microscopic algae, called zooxanthellae, that live within its tissues. This is a critical symbiotic relationship. The coral provides the algae with a protected home, and in return, the algae produce up to 90% of the coral's food through photosynthesis. But under the stress of a heat wave, this relationship breaks down. The algae begin to produce toxins, and the coral polyps expel them to survive. Without the algae, the coral's tissues become transparent, revealing the stark white skeleton beneath. The coral is not yet dead, but it is starving and vulnerable. The consequences of this phenomenon have been devastatingly clear. During the marine heat waves of 2016 and 2017, Australia's Great Barrier Reef, the largest living structure on Earth, suffered unprecedented losses. A landmark 2020 report from the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network revealed that the world had already lost approximately 14% of its coral in the decade after 2009. In 2016 alone, an estimated 30% of the Great Barrier Reef's shallow water corals died. In the hardest-hit northern sections, the toll was far higher, with some surveys showing that over 60% of the coral in a 700-kilometer stretch had perished, leaving behind vast, silent graveyards of white skeletons. Compounding the threat of rising temperatures is the insidious problem of ocean acidification. The ocean has absorbed about a third of the excess carbon dioxide released since the Industrial Revolution. When CO2 dissolves in seawater, it forms carbonic acid, which increases the water's acidity. Since the 1950s, the average pH of the ocean's surface has dropped from around 8.15 to 8.05. Because the pH scale is logarithmic, this seemingly small drop represents a roughly 26 to 30% increase in acidity. This changing chemistry makes it harder for creatures like coral polyps to extract the carbonate ions they need to build their calcium carbonate skeletons. The very foundations of the reef are becoming more fragile, their growth stunted, and in some cases, they can even begin to dissolve. The world now looks to science for a clear picture of this escalating situation. Global assessments, like the comprehensive 2020 report from the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network, are our planet's health check. Analyzing nearly 2 million observations from researchers across 73 countries, these reports synthesize colossal amounts of data to guide conservation efforts. The data reveals critical trends: which reefs are showing resilience, which are collapsing, and what urgent actions must be taken to prevent a global catastrophe that would endanger the food security and coastal protection of hundreds of millions of people. Yet, even in the face of this widespread global crisis, there is clear, demonstrable hope. Studies have consistently shown that coral reefs within well-managed marine protected areas MPAs, are more resilient to climate change impacts. By reducing other local stressors like overfishing and pollution, we give corals a vital fighting chance. When fishing is restricted, populations of herbivorous fish thrive, grazing on the algae that would otherwise smother young corals and prevent recovery after bleaching. Research has proven that the negative impacts of disturbances like bleaching can be significantly lower inside these protected zones. It is powerful evidence that when given a genuine reprieve from human pressures, nature has a profound capacity to heal. Leaving the tropical warmth behind, we journey to the high latitudes, where the ocean takes on a dramatically different character. Here, powerful currents and winds drive a process called upwelling, pulling cold, nutrient-rich waters from the deep to the sunlit surface. These are not the crystal-clear, nutrient-poor waters of the tropics, but a churning, productive engine of life. This massive infusion of nutrients from the abyss fuels enormous blooms of phytoplankton, the foundation of the entire marine food web, creating some of the most fertile and abundant ecosystems on Earth. And the backbone of this cold water world is a forest that grows faster than bamboo. This is the realm of the kelp forests. In these cold, sunlit coastal waters, giant kelp forms towering underwater cathedrals. Anchored to the rocky seafloor by a root-like structure called a holdfast, these incredible algae can grow at astonishing rates, up to 2 feet a day under ideal conditions. They stretch towards the surface, with some species reaching heights of over 50 meters, or 165 feet. Their long fronds create a dense, three-dimensional canopy that provides critical food and shelter for a staggering array of life, from the tiniest invertebrates hiding in the holdfasts to large fish weaving through the stalks. But these vibrant forests rely on a charismatic guardian to protect them, a creature whose very survival depends on having the world's most luxurious coat. Patrolling these lush kelp forests is a vital predator, the sea otter. Unlike other marine mammals, such as seals or whales, the sea otter has no thick layer of blubber to protect it from the frigid water. Its survival depends entirely on its fur, the densest of any animal in the world, with up to 1 million hairs per square inch. This incredibly thick, double-layered coat traps a layer of air against the skin, providing perfect thermal insulation and keeping the otter warm and dry. To maintain this essential air layer and the waterproofing of its coat, an otter must spend hours every day meticulously grooming. But it's not the otter's fur that makes it a hero of the ecosystem. It's its voracious appetite. The sea otter is a classic keystone species, a creature whose presence is fundamental to the health of its entire ecosystem. Its role as the guardian of the kelp forest triggers a powerful chain reaction known as a trophic cascade. One of the otter's favorite and most important foods is the sea urchin. If left unchecked, armies of sea urchins can graze uncontrollably on the kelp's holdfasts, the structures that anchor them to the seafloor, mowing down the entire forest and creating desolate underwater wastelands known as urchin barrens. By preying on the urchins, the otter controls their population, allowing the kelp cathedrals to flourish. This, in turn, provides the complex habitat required for hundreds of other species to survive and thrive. The presence or absence of this single species dictates the fate of the entire ecosystem. In the icy, nutrient-rich waters of Alaska, the cycle of life explodes in a breathtaking annual spectacle, the herring feast. Billions of herring gather in coastal waters to spawn, releasing so many eggs and milt that they turn the sea milky white for miles. This massive temporary concentration of life attracts a formidable army of predators from air, land, and sea. Sea lions, eagles, and even coastal bears all converge for this brief, spectacular banquet. But the true giants of the feast are the humpback whales. They employ an ingenious and highly sophisticated cooperative hunting strategy known as bubble net feeding. A group of whales dives deep, then swims in an upward spiral, blowing a circular curtain of bubbles to corral the terrified herring into a tight ball. On a coordinated signal, they lunge upwards through the center of the net, swallowing thousands of fish in a single massive gulp. This incredible cooperative hunting is not pure instinct. It is a learned behavior passed from mother to calf and between individuals, a true sign of animal culture. Humpback whale songs are another profound example of this cultural transmission. All males in a given population sing the same complex, haunting, and constantly evolving song. But the way these songs are shared differs across the globe. In some regions, the songs change gradually, in an evolutionary fashion over time. In others, they undergo dramatic revolutions, with entire populations rapidly abandoning their old song for a completely new one learned from a neighboring group they encountered on their migrations. This ability to transmit complex cultural traditions across entire oceans highlights a level of social learning and intelligence that we are only just beginning to appreciate. The herring spawning event is far more than just a feast for predators. It is an act of fertilization on a colossal scale. The herring release billions upon billions of sticky eggs that blanket the kelp fronds, rocks, and the seafloor, providing a crucial, long-lasting food source for countless smaller species for weeks to come. More than that, the immense pulse of nutrients released during the spawn enriches the entire coastal ecosystem, fueling massive blooms of plankton and algae that form the base of the food web. It's a profound demonstration of the deep connection between the open ocean and the shoreline, supporting hunters of all shapes and sizes, including one that appears clumsy and awkward on land, but flies with incredible grace and power underwater. On the remote, windswept cliffs of the North Atlantic, the Atlantic puffin makes its living from the sea's bounty. It can appear endearingly clumsy on land, but in the water, it is transformed into a master hunter. Along mid-ocean ridges where tectonic plates pull apart, hydrothermal vents, often called black smokers, spew superheated, mineral-rich water from the Earth's crust. In this seemingly toxic alien environment, entire ecosystems thrive. The foundation of this life is not photosynthesis, but chemosynthesis. Specialized bacteria convert harsh chemicals like hydrogen sulfide into energy, forming the base of a unique food web that supports bizarre and fascinating creatures like giant tube worms, blind vent crabs, and the Pompeii worm, which is one of the most heat-tolerant complex animals on Earth. But not all blooms of life in the ocean are a healthy sign. In recent decades, massive disruptive invasions of jellyfish have plagued seas around the world. These blooms are often a symptom of an ocean thrown out of balance by human activity. Widespread overfishing has removed many of the jellyfish's natural predators and competitors, such as sea turtles and large fish. At the same time, nutrient runoff from agricultural fertilizers and sewage can fuel explosive blooms of the plankton that jellyfish feed on. This combination creates an ecological vacuum, a perfect storm that these resilient, gelatinous creatures are all too eager to fill, with devastating impacts on commercial fisheries, tourism, and even coastal infrastructure like power plants. An even more pervasive and insidious threat now contaminates every corner of the ocean, from the surface to the deepest trenches: plastic. Every year, millions of metric tons of plastic waste enter the seas, ranging from large, visible debris like fishing nets and bottles to microscopic fragments that are invisible to the naked eye. This pollution has been found to have impacted almost every species, group studied, with clear negative effects documented in nearly 90% of those assessed. Animals like sea turtles, seals, and whales become entangled in discarded gear, leading to horrific injuries, drowning, and starvation. Many more species mistake plastic for food. These plastics can block their digestive systems and leach toxic chemicals, which then accumulate up the food chain, ultimately reaching the seafood on our own plates. Yet, where we take decisive science-led action, the ocean shows its profound resilience. Off the coast of Peru, the world's largest single-species fishery, the Peruvian anchoveta, completely collapsed in the 1970s. The catastrophe was caused by a devastating combination of intense overfishing and a powerful, naturally occurring El Niño event. This led to a secondary collapse in the vast populations of seabirds that depended entirely on the anchovies for food. But with the eventual implementation of stricter fishing regulations, science-based quotas, and ecosystem-focused management, the anchovy populations have shown a remarkable ability to recover. And with them, the seabirds have returned, flocking to the coast once more in their millions, a powerful and noisy sign of ecosystem rebirth. The triumphant return of the birds to Peru's coast is a powerful sign of rebirth, but their initial disappearance served as a stark lesson in how deeply interconnected ocean life truly is. When the anchoveta population vanished, it wasn't just a single fishery that collapsed. It was an entire food web that unraveled. This is the other side of the trophic cascade. Instead of a keystone species adding stability, the removal of a cornerstone species, the anchoveta, triggered a system-wide failure, effectively silencing the skies by starving the millions of birds that relied on them. It's a powerful reminder that in the ocean, no species is an island. Each is a critical thread in a vast, intricate, and often fragile tapestry. The Peruvian collapse taught humanity a hard but invaluable lesson, one that has fundamentally reshaped how we interact with the sea. The recovery was not a fortunate accident. It was the direct result of a profound shift in thinking. The implementation of science-based management meant replacing the mindset of short-term profit with a strategy for long-term sustainability. It meant listening to the data, setting strict and adaptable catch limits, protecting critical spawning seasons, and finally understanding that a healthy, resilient ocean is an infinitely more valuable and sustainable resource than one pushed to the brink of collapse. This event became a global case study, proving that with humility, foresight, and political will, we can manage our impact and allow nature to rebound. But it's crucial to remember that humans were not the only factor in this story of collapse and recovery. The fishery's demise was dramatically amplified by one of the planet's most powerful climate phenomena, the El Niño Southern Oscillation. This recurring natural event periodically and dramatically warms the surface waters of the eastern Pacific, disrupting the vital upwelling of cold, nutrient-rich water that the anchoveta and the entire ecosystem depend on. When the immense force of a strong El Niño event combined with the relentless pressure of an unregulated fishing fleet, the system was pushed past its breaking point. It serves as a critical warning. Our planet has its own powerful, unpredictable rhythms, and our actions can either build resilience against them or create a fragility that shatters in their path. Peru's story demonstrates the incredible power of national regulations to heal an entire industry and ecosystem. But it raises another compelling question. What happens when the power to protect is placed directly in the hands of the people who call the ocean their home and their provider? Can small, community-led conservation efforts have an even more focused, rapid, and profound impact? The next chapter in our journey takes us to the heart of the Coral Triangle, to a place once decimated by illegal and destructive activity, where a group of local rangers decided to draw a line in the sand and on the seafloor to take back their natural heritage. Before we dive into that story, it's crucial to understand the fundamental shift in value that makes such success possible. The old extractive model saw the ocean as a resource to be plundered, where a living shark was worth only the price of its fins. The collapse in Peru showed the long-term economic devastation that inevitably follows when the resource is completely depleted. But the new model, the one taking root in protected areas around the world, frames a living, thriving ecosystem as the true source of sustainable wealth. It's a model where a living shark is worth infinitely more over its lifetime to a local economy through tourism than it is once to a single fisherman. This is the economic engine of hope, proving that protecting nature is not a cost but an investment that pays incredible, lasting dividends. Perhaps one of the most powerful stories of hope and recovery comes from the Misul Marine Reserve in Raja Ampat, Indonesia. Here, an area once ravaged by destructive shark finning and dynamite fishing has been transformed into a strictly enforced no-take sanctuary, patrolled 24/7 by local rangers. The results have been nothing short of miraculous. In just over a decade, scientific surveys have shown that the total biomass of fish has surged with an average increase of 250%. And in some key sites by over 600%. Most remarkably, apex predator populations have rebounded dramatically. Studies have found there are 25 times more sharks inside the protected area than just outside its borders. The success has fueled a thriving local economy based on dive tourism, proving that when communities are empowered to protect their resources, both nature and humanity can benefit profoundly. This brings us back to where we began, to the very nature of intelligence in the sea. The common octopus, with around 500 million neurons, roughly as many as a dog, is a stunning example of a mind that evolved on a profoundly different path from our own. A staggering 2/3 of its neurons are not in its central brain, but are distributed throughout its 8 arms. This means each arm can think, taste, touch, and act semi-independently, processing information and making decisions without direct, conscious input from the central brain. This distributed intelligence helps explain their wild and creative problem-solving skills, from their documented use of coconut shells as portable shelters to their notoriously daring escapes from aquarium tanks. Their intelligence is so profound, they have even been observed showing what appears to be playful behavior, a trait incredibly rare in invertebrates and a strong indicator of higher cognitive function. Of all the ocean's countless mysteries, one has captivated our collective imagination for centuries: the hunt for the kraken. This ancient legend is rooted in a real-world titan of the deep, the giant squid. Reaching lengths of up to 13 meters, this elusive creature lives in the crushing darkness of the abyss. For centuries, our only knowledge of it came from carcasses washed ashore or the sucker-shaped scars left on the skin of its only known consistent predator, the sperm whale. Encounters with a living giant squid were unheard of. But in 2012, a team of scientists finally captured the first-ever footage of this giant in its natural habitat, revealing a silent, ghostly hunter in the deep. And just recently, in early 2025, scientists filmed a colossal squid, an even heavier and more mysterious relative, for the first time in the wild, proving that some legends are very, very real. From the distributed mind of the octopus to the cooperative hunting tactics of sharks, from the critical keystone role of the sea otter to the ancient unwavering endurance of the sea turtle. The ocean is a realm of ancient intelligence, complex societies, and deeply interconnected lives. These are ancestral species, survivors of millennia, whose ancient kingdoms are now colliding with the collective will and impact of humanity. The stories of tragic decline from the Great Barrier Reef and the stories of profound hope from places like Missoul and Peru present us with a clear and urgent choice. The survival of these giants, the health of our oceans, and the stability of our planet's climate depend on our ability to learn from them, to adapt our behavior, and to act with wisdom, humility, and restraint. Their future is our legacy. The ocean's mysteries are a powerful reminder of how much there is still left to discover, and more importantly, to protect. If this journey into the deep has inspired you, please show your support by giving this video a like. To ensure you don't miss our next expedition into the wild, subscribe to our channel and be sure to turn on notifications. There are countless more stories waiting to surface. We encourage you to explore our channel for more deep dives into the planet's most fascinating and fragile realms. And let us know in the comments which of these ocean giants or which story of survival amazed you the most. The conversation and the action starts now.